The crystalline towers of Velthara gleamed under three suns, their light refracting through the council chamber's transparent dome. Arya Lorne stood before the assembled leaders of the Galactic Coalition, her worn combat armor a stark contrast to their flowing ceremonial robes. Behind her, through the observation window, the planet Kesher burned. "Madness," hissed Councillor Surak, his scaled hide rippling with chromatophores that displayed his disgust in waves of burgundy and black. "You ask us to commit our fleets, our warriors, our resources for them?" He gestured at the holographic display showing the Kashari, small furred beings with large eyes and primitive weaponry. "They have nothing to offer, no technology, no strategic value. They are prey species, Captain Lorne. The Kryn will consume them as they have consumed 100 worlds before." Arya's jaw tightened. She had expected this. The Coalition operated on cold calculations, trade agreements, military alliances, resource exchanges. Sentiment was a luxury reserved for species that had proven their worth. "The Kryn swarm has 16 dreadnoughts in orbit," continued another counselor, a being of pure energy contained within a magnetic field. "Our projections show a 94% casualty rate if we intervene." "For what gain?" "They're sentient beings," Arya began. "So are the flora colonies of Dendros 4, Surak interrupted, his forked tongue tasting the air dismissively. "So are the crystalline intelligences of the Outer Rim. We cannot save every species that faces extinction human. Your kind has been part of this coalition for barely 2 centuries. You do not yet understand the mathematics of survival." Arya had heard this argument before. When humanity first reached the stars, they'd been shocked to discover that the galaxy operated like a vast, indifferent marketplace. Compassion was considered a statistical anomaly. Altruism, a mutation to be studied. "I understand perfectly," Arya said quietly. "I understand that you've calculated the Kashari aren't worth saving. That's why I'm not asking for your fleet." She straightened, meeting Sirak's reptilian gaze. "I'm asking for mine. The 3rd Human Expeditionary Fleet. We'll go alone." A murmur rippled through the chamber. Sirak's crest flared. "Your fleet numbers 12 vessels. Against the 16 Kryn dreadnoughts? You'll be obliterated. Probably. Then why?" The question came from Surak, but Arya could see it reflected in every alien face before her. This was the question that had always separated humanity from their galactic neighbors. Why fight when the numbers don't favor you? Why sacrifice for strangers? Arya reached into her armor's storage compartment and pulled out a small data crystal. She inserted it into the chamber's central projector. The hologram shifted, no longer showing fleet movements and casualty projections. Instead, it displayed a memory. Arya, 6 months earlier, crash-landed on Kesher after her scout ship had been ambushed by Kryn raiders. The memory showed her crawling from the wreckage, legs shattered, infection setting in. She had been prepared to die alone on that forested moon. But then they came a family of Kashari, no taller than her waist, with soft golden fur and those impossibly large eyes. They should have run. Their species had evolved as prey. Every instinct should have screamed at them to flee from the strange, dangerous creature. Instead, they approached. They offered food strange fruits and grains. They fashioned a splint from branches and vines. The younglings, the cubs, sat beside her through the fever, their small paws patting her face, chirping softly. "I was dying," Arya said, her voice cutting through the council chamber's silence. "They had no reason to help me. I was alien to them, potentially dangerous. And yet they chose compassion over fear." The hologram showed one particular moment. The smallest cub, barely able to walk, climbing onto Arya's chest while she shivered with fever. The tiny creature curled up against her, sharing its warmth, choosing trust over survival instinct. "Their village elder tried to pull them away," Arya continued, "but the cubs kept returning. They chose me. Not because I could offer them technology or protection or trade agreements. They chose me because I was suffering, and they refused to let a living being die alone." Sirak's chromatophores had stilled, his scales now a neutral gray. "When I recovered enough to send a distress signal, I lived with them for 3 weeks. I learned their language, their customs. They have poetry, counselor. They have music. They have debates about philosophy and purpose." Arya's fists clenched. "And they have something most of you lost millennia ago. They believe that mercy is not a weakness." The hologram shifted again, now showing the Kryn invasion. Kashari villages burning. Families fleeing into the forests. "The cubs I lived with, they're down there right now," Arya said, pointing at the burning planet. Hiding in caves while your mathematics of survival writes them off as acceptable losses. Captain Lorne, Surak began. They chose me when they didn't have to, Arya interrupted, her voice sharp as steel. They taught me that sentience isn't measured by technology or military might. It's measured by the choice to care when it costs you everything. She turned to face the full council. Humanity has something you've forgotten in your billions of years of cold calculation. We're still young enough to be stupid. We're still naive enough to believe that some things are worth dying for. We still remember what it means to be the underdog, the prey species, the ones that everyone wrote off. Arya pulled up the tactical display of her fleet. 12 ships. Inadequate by every measure. You ask me why defend them? She brought up the image of the cubs, those small, trusting faces. Because they chose me. And I choose them. If humanity stands alone in this, then so be it. At least when we're gone, someone will remember that we cared. The council chamber fell silent. Surak stared at the hologram of the cubs for a long moment, his ancient eyes reflecting something that might have been memory or perhaps regret. Finally, he spoke. Commander Valsir, prepare the 4th Coalition fleet for immediate deployment. His scales rippled with colors Arya didn't recognize. It seems the humans have reminded us of something we thought we'd outgrown. Arya exhaled, not quite believing. Besides, Surak added, his voice softening, those cubs chose well. It would be illogical to waste such judgment. As the council erupted into coordinated chaos, scrambling to mobilize their forces, Arya looked down at the burning world below. Hold on, she thought. We're coming. Because some choices transcend mathematics. Some bonds transcend species. And some things like the trust of children who choose compassion over fear are worth any cost.